Hi, everybody.
Hey, hi,
Hello.
Chris.
Good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. This is episode 5 of Talking Threadheads. We have with us today, live from somewhere in Baltimore. I think you're in Baltimore, right?
Yes, Mount
Vanessa,
Washington, Baltimore.
Vanessa Pikler. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Nicole,
Hello, my friend.
do we have any words of wisdom before we just jump right into the questions?
Well, I mean, I love Vanessa Pikler. She's one of my favorite fest friends. So I'm really excited to just basically hang out and talk to her for like the next 20 minutes. So let's go for it.
Let's do it. Question 1. This is like a quiz show. Question 1. Talk about your first Jazz Fest, when it was, what was the experience like? Maybe talk about a standout performance, that kind of thing.
Okay. Well, I first heard about Jazz Fest in the 90s. My little brother went. He was living in Alabama and he heard Eddie Bo on the radio and drove to Jazz Fest and saw Eddie Bo in the mid 90s. But I really wasn't paying attention at that point. Um, I then had one of my best girlfriends start dating someone. We lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She started dating someone who, for years and years, he and his brother worked in the construction crew, the alligator crew. And she started going every year with him and would come borrow all my clothes and go for a couple of weeks. And I'm like, this seems really fun. But it wasn't until 1999 that a really good friend of mine, a bass player, Stan Reed, he's not with us any longer, but invited me to go that year. And I was in the middle of my master's thesis, so I felt like maybe I wasn't an and person at that time. I'm quoting Jordan. So I wish I had been, but I wasn't. I felt like I needed to focus, so I declined that year. So it wasn't until 2000 that I actually went. And that was the year that Lanny and Tyra got married, and they got married in the gospel tent at Jazz.
Oh, wow.
And of course, I couldn't stay away for that. And I came in the middle of the night, I guess, like the night before. I don't know why I did that, but I did. And nobody was there to pick me up at the airport. And so all I knew they were staying at some lady's house named Pat. And so I called Pat's house. And I don't know if it was you who answered the phone, Chris, but Chris Joseph was staying at Pat's house that weekend too.
That is true.
And somebody got me there. Somebody like gave me the directions and I found it. Lanny and Tyra are passed out. But I found it, and it was this beautiful house in Gentilly filled with her artwork. She's an amazing artist. And it was the beginning of everything that weekend. Everybody loves the gospel tent, first of all, but to have a wedding in the gospel tent is so magical. And because he was part of the alligator crew, the construction crew, they made it so special with a second line, and they decorated all the golf carts, and it was just incredible. Attendees of Jazz Fest are in the tent too, and that just added to everything. And it was just unbelievable. And the whole weekend was unbelievable. We got the red carpet rolled out for us. One of my favorite memories of that weekend was we got to go, I guess it might have been the Acura stage, but Lenny Kravitz was playing, and they let us into the area where the photographers go. And Lenny Kravitz comes off the stage and starts dancing with us. It's just me and Tyra. And it was really, really fun. I don't know where Lanny was, but we had a blast. So that's a favorite memory from that first weekend of 21 years of jazz festing.
I love that. So, yes, you and I met that year. I don't think I was the one who answered the phone, but to be honest with you, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Talk about a show that you, me, and Tyra went to that weekend.
Yeah. So that weekend, Chris and myself and Tyra went to the Howlin' Wolf to see Rickey Lee Jones. And Rickey Lee Jones was in rare form that night and was kind of cranky, actually. And we were having such a good time, but Rickey Lee Jones was upset or miffed that someone was smoking in the near her. So she stopped the whole show and waited for them to escort that person or people out before she would proceed with the show. Am I getting that? Did I?
Yeah. I've never seen anything like it before or since. Yeah.
And I think he's playing this year, so that'll be a full circle for us.
Right.
Yeah. What year was that?
2000.
All right. So smoking was still allowed in a lot of the venues at that time.
All of them. Mm-hmm.
So, wow, what a diva. My goodness. Yes. So I, first of all, didn't know that you guys knew each other from back in Vanessa's first Jazz Fest. So that's new information. I have a comment about the Lenny Kravitz thing, but I am going to save it for when we're done recording, because I don't know if it's in the flavor of our program. So I'll save it for later.
I didn't know there was off limits, but okay.
Yeah, I'm live editing right now. So sorry. I should have known that this was going to go off the rails a little bit with me and you talking, and I didn't even get a question in, and I've already thrown it off the rails. So
more fun this way.
Yeah, more fun. All right. So anyhow, back to the actual approved agenda. What are some standout musical performances from all these years? Wait, how many Jazz Fests has it been for you?
Right. So I guess if we're counting this year, there's 20. This is the 21st year for me, but out of those years, I did miss a few. So I think I've been to 16.
That's amazing. All right. So tell us, what are the most memorable music memories from those 16?
That was a really hard question for me to compile. It's like my son always asks me, what are your top 10? And I'm always like, I don't know. But if I had to make a list out of the things I remember, because there's a lot I don't, but actually last year in 2019, or the last one we had, War and Treaty in the Blues Tent blew my socks off. It was so electrifying. It was so powerful, and it's just the kind of live performance that I want to see. It really was everything. 2008, Stevie Wonder in the Rain. That was just filled with joy for me. I saw Eddie Bo with my brother one year. My brother's come with me or met me down there a number of years. And I've gone by myself a number of years too. I'm in that group. But yeah, Eddie Bo with my brother. And then I guess if I can just glom on to that third one as ties, Bruce Springsteen and John Butte the year after Katrina was really powerful. So. Yeah,
both those shows are great. They're very powerful. Yeah. So you've been spotted backstage a lot. Yeah. Always see you wearing the backstage passes. Yeah. Talk about that experience, about being backstage.
Yeah, I've been really lucky to be granted some sort of backstage pass most days that I fest. Not every day, but out of all the years, most days. So that's been a really nice way to fest. And I guess, every stage is different. So, and every backstage pass is different. Some allow you to be actually on the stage. Some allow you to be sort of side stage in these chairs. And some just are like a special section in front. So you're up close, sort of like on the rail near the stage, that way in the front. So I've been able to sometimes talk to performers or their families. I've sometimes just had a really great view, or just been able to have a seat when other people sometimes don't. But I guess when you were asking me what are some memorable times, War and Treaty came up again for me. I had Lisa Williford with me, and I remember seeing a tear in her eye. And, you know, it was just a really great moment, you know, to have that access and to be so close. I talked to Ellis Marcellus last year and his family, and they're so sweet. And just, he had his whole family. And that was the year that he died. So that was really special. And then same with Henry Butler, though I didn't talk to him. I got to be up close for that. Last year I was on the stage with Shamar, and it's always fun to chat him up. And so, yeah, I mean, all of the experiences are wonderful in their own way. And I feel grateful for them. Yeah.
Well, we have, Vanessa, you are going to be the very first person that we've asked a certain question to.
Okay.
Of all of the 5 episodes that we've done so far, you're the first person who we are going to ask, what is your favorite fest food?
Woohoo! Yeah, so I have a little bit of a pedestrian answer to that at first, but I have hopefully some unique answers to follow up with that. So my favorites are, of course, the crawfish enchiladas, crawfish sacks, cochon de lait po' boys. And I always have a ritual of at least one morning going to the Lanyap stage to have oysters and beer for breakfast. My breakfast of champions, at least one morning. And I've been doing that since at least the first year, I think. That was a Lanny and Tyra influence. The thing I wanted to tell you about that some people may not know, you know, I have this really strong other family aside from the Threadheads, which is the Alligator crew, the construction crew, which builds Jazz Fest. And back in the back, that's what we call the barns where they're headquartered. They have a tremendous food culture going on back there. And every year, I've always been in awe of the discussions and the preparations and everything that goes into creating these meals for their people back there. In addition to all the stuff that's out on the fairgrounds, there's just all this food culture back there. And I remember one year, Lanny, who is a chef, that was one of his tasks in addition to building, you know, he was tasked with cooking. And he had this trailer, this huge truck that had many spits of pigs that he would roast. And we would have roasted pig back there and, you know, pots of gumbo that would cook all day. And they still do that. I haven't seen the pig truck in a while, but it's just, it's a lovely thing that goes on back there. And there's all kinds of things. There's another barn that has this huge swing that's really fun. So there's a whole lot of life going on behind the scenes.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm so happy we asked you that question because first of all, your answer was not pedestrian at all. And secondly, I had no clue about any of that. So you're opening my eyes to an entire side of Jazz Fest that's completely unknown to me.
Can I tell you another little story, sort of like that, but not, which is one year I was granted my wish to volunteer with the crew, with the Alligator crew. And my job was to distribute all the fire extinguishers throughout the fairgrounds. And then after Fest was over, my job was to go and collect them all. And I had to line them all up with the nozzles pointing one way and everything. And it was a very important job. And I took a lot of pride in that. So just wanted to plug that.
Well, good job, fire safety monitor Vanessa Pikler.
That's right. Drop and roll.
Thank you for your service to Jazz Fest.
Always.
Do we have to salute? I can't remember. There you go. Let's talk about Threadheads.
Yeah.
So even though you and I met 21 years ago, you and I didn't see each other for a few years. And then all of a sudden, I saw you either on the chat board or at Jazz Fest. I can't remember. You're a Threadhead. How did that happen?
Yeah, voila. I don't don't remember how I first learned about the threadheads, to be honest. And I'm so glad other people have admitted to this, I think I too was a lurker before I was an official one, because I think officially on the boards it says 2007, but I have like cultural references to let me know that possibly it was before that. For example, I used to follow Corona, who is actually Lisa Renata, and I remember going to her MySpace page, which was all New Orleans themed, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. And so that had to be before 2007, I think. And I remember meeting people along the way, you know, same experience as you, Nicole, you know, putting faces to names and being like, oh, you know, I've met them, you know, like I remember meeting Gree Mel's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Outside the Blues Tent, and she had to tell me how to say that because I didn't know how to say it. And just all the people on the board, like IB Jammin and all that, you know, Jen and all the old crew. But I officially joined in 2007, and it was my escape because I am a psychologist and I worked inpatient, and I needed to be able to get away from my work. And that was such a portal for me to stay connected to my happy place through the boards. But
Just one other thought. You do realize the threadheads are sort of insane, right? I mean, so
yeah, so it's perfect.
fits right in.
Yeah.
It's good for us to have a professional such as yourself in the mix for many reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
Which flows really nicely into our next topic, and something that's very unique to you. Now, another topic that we haven't really touched on too much, and for good reason, because we're not really looking behind us with the pandemic. You know, I don't want to spend too much time focusing on what that year meant to many of us. But we want to look forward because we're all excited about the future and feeling positive, hopefully. But to take it back for a minute to springtime last year, the pandemic situation is, you know, beginning to take shape, and all of the emotions were fresh to us. You know, we weren't good at this yet. And I just remember you putting your gift to service to so many people by leading a meditation series, a daily meditation. And I wanted you to speak to that. You know, where did you get the idea to do that? You know, what was some of the feedback that you received on it? And also just to say thank you for doing that, because I think that it gave so many people who we care about, ourselves included, some peace and solace during a very challenging time.
Yeah. To hear you even say that makes me feel so full. So thank you so much for that. Yeah, and you actually kind of named every reason why it came about. There was just that collective fear, collective uncertainty, existential dread and threat and trauma. So, you know, I know I'm not alone in this. A lot of people were looking at their skill sets and saying, what can I do? What can I do to help? How can I offer something? How can I serve? And so I'm an avid meditation practitioner and teacher in my work, and just thought, well, of course, this is what we've been training for all along. You know, we're going to come together, and, you know, in challenging times, that's one of the best ways to navigate is through community. So I decided I would do this meditation practice live, so we would actually be able to gather together, and you could go back and revisit them later because it was on Facebook, but, you know, attempted to do it live, and people would join in. And I decided to choose equanimity practices because those are skillful means to cultivate balance and compassion for ourselves and others, which is so important when we're going through big things, you know. So yeah, I did it every single day for 3 months. And what I heard from other people was that quite a few people let me know that it did help. And that's everything, you know. So
It's really great. Thank you for doing that.
it's my pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, I think an aspect of that, I think I participated just a handful of times, but it gave me comfort knowing that that service was out there for people who I cared about, who I know, like I felt supported, and you know, my experience in the early days of the pandemic was uniquely my own, and I felt like I had the tools that I needed to cope, and I was just so worried about so many people, and I felt a great sense of comfort knowing that you were providing that guidance and that resource to people. So before we get, I don't, go ahead, sorry.
No, just that means the world to me. So thank you.
And to lighten things up a little bit, I like your point about, you know, we all wanted to be of service, like what can we do? And I took stock of my own skill set and I realized I'm really, really good at spending money. So I just stuffed the tip jars for every life.
Yes, for the musicians, right?
Yeah,
All the musicians that were putting their stuff out there. I did that too.
Yeah. That was my only skill that I had to offer. So man, I did my best. I really did my best.
Clearly, that's not true. That's why we're here. So, but yeah.
Great stuff. Great stuff. So Jazz Fest, as we know, is coming up in less than 3 months.
Yeah.
Tell us what you're looking forward to.
Well, obviously, live music. We're starving for live music, right? And that's why we connect. And you know, part of our glue is all of us loving that. So of course, I'm looking forward to that, and dancing and eating. And you know, one of my favorite phrases that Tyra would say to me in the early days was, you know, we would put it all out there. We would party to excess and do it all, kind of Jordan style. And then she'd knock on my door in the morning and say, "Ready to do it all again?" And I'd be like, yeah. So that, but I think, you know, kind of dovetailing with what we were just talking about, I think what I'm looking forward to the most is really with intention, taking in every moment that I can, not taking for granted anything, and really letting it be as vivid and vibrant as possible. Let the hugs be sweeter, let our dances be all the more joyous, may everything just be felt fully. So, yeah.
Wonderful.
Amen to that. I'm on board. Co-signed. Let's go.
All right. I'll see you there.
So I think that's all of our questions. Before we sign off, I don't know if we've done a very good job at promoting the Threadhead Cultural Foundation. So we do need to, hopefully every episode, remind everyone, if you're not a member of the Threadhead Cultural Foundation, become one. They do great work.
Yes.
Great work.
Absolutely. And I think you can get tickets to the Patry that way. Is that?
I think that's
There are
right.
different levels, right? And you can choose that.
Wow,
Yeah,
if only we could get, you know, Ken to come on and explain the different levels to us and promote the Patry. I hope you might be interested in doing that soon. Hint, hint. Yeah. Hey, Ken, give us some information, buddy. No, I know we've spoken with Ken and you know, all those folks, and we hope to have them here soon to share some information, particularly about joining the Threadhead Cultural Foundation and getting involved and helping to support their mission and what they do.
Absolutely. It's a worthy cause.
Yeah.
Vanessa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I can't wait to give you a hug in October.
Same. Both of you. Take care.
All right, everybody, I'm going to stop recording.